Hey, my Lipton. So I want to quickly talk about the Dark Side of the Ring. I want to do JYD and I want to do Adrian Adonis. So I'm gonna start with JYD first. So the JYD episode was definitely a rise and fall. JYD was very, very popular in the South. He was huge. As a matter of fact, like you can almost think that he was like a Hulk Hogan within the Bill Watts territory. He was over with the fans. Like he was just a great character. I think with him, the only issue, obviously the main issue was his demons. It was the drugs, the cocaine. Like it really, really hurt him professionally, personally, and it was sad to see where he ended up. I know that he was at the South and he was with Bill Watts, and you know and he was doing well there. But obviously Vince McMahon, when he was buying up the territories, he was stealing talents and that sort of thing. So Vince gave JYD a big offer. So JYD took that offer because one, it was more money, and then according to Teddy Long, that he apparently heard Bill Watts and Grizzly Smith, who was the father of Jake the Snake Roberts, in the bathroom saying that, oh, that n-word won't go nowhere. Basically, he won't leave us right now. He won't leave our territory. This nigga will stay right here. So that's what, in a way, according to Ted Long, that's what influenced JYD's decision to leave, even though JYD was so loyal to Bill Watts. And plus he didn't give a notice. Now people are gonna be like, oh well, I know there's probably gonna be some people that be like, oh well, how is that gonna be, how is that true? Because Bill Watts treated him so well and like he was a big star, blah 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 blah. In a way, I believe it. I believe it. I don't think that Teddy Long is lying about that. And I just don't think that, especially when it comes to JYD, the fact that he was such a huge star with Bill Watts, and for him not to even give a notice, him just up and leave, like you would think that he would give a notice, like, hey, like, I'm leaving, like, I just want to give you the heads up. I know how hard this must be for you. I am your biggest star, but Vince has offered me more money, blah blah blah. And maybe Bill Watts could have negotiated with JYD, but the fact that they said that JYD just up and left like that and without no notice, no nothing, there is something that happened that I think that Bill Watts, and they said in the episode that Bill Watts denied the allegations of him calling JYD the N word and stuff, but I don't know. So JYD goes to WWE, and here's the thing: people, they were trying to say like, oh, JYD wasn't as much of a bigger star in WWE as he was with Bill Watts, but I think that JYD was still pushed well. I would say that he was still pushed well, and obviously, Hulk Hogan was the man at the time. He was the one that was there, and he was the one that came from the AWA. So Hulk Hogan had way more momentum, I would say, compared to JYD. But JYD still had the action figures. He was still pushed. He was still liked by the fans. He was over, but I just think that, with his demons and like the cocaine and the drugs and the smoking pipe in the car, it was too much, and that ended up being his downfall was the drugs and the no shows. So they ended up firing him. He ended up going to WCW, but it wasn't the same. He gained weight. They kept calling him a junk food dog or whatever, whatever. So it was something that he needed a lot of help with, but unfortunately, you know, couldn't get help with because, you know, I think the drugs ended up coming to him and it ended up catching up. It took its toll. And he ended up missing, I think, his daughter's graduation, if I'm not mistaken, her high school graduation. And he came there and he was just, they said, according to the episode, he was a mess. He had apparently like puked in his car. Like he was a hot mess. And like when he went back down, because he was in North Carolina when where his daughter's graduation was at, then he went back down to take a drive to Mississippi, which I honestly think that he should have never drove back, and the car accident ended up happening and it ended up killing him. So it's unfortunate what happened to JYD. And I'm happy that he is in the Hall of Fame, because I unfortunately with deaths like that, especially nowadays with WWE, like when it comes to like drugs or like those sort of deaths, they don't like to induct those people into the Hall of Fame. Like for instance, like look at Miss Elizabeth. Miss Elizabeth is still not in the Hall of Fame, and that's due to the drugs and all that stuff. So and there's a few people too that's still not in the Hall of Fame, that due to the way they passed away and stuff, and which I think is stupid and ridiculous. But because it's like people can still do their research on these wrestlers, like. But anyway, I'm happy that he's in the Hall of Fame. So I want to talk about Adrian Adonis. I watched the episode yesterday, and I was at first I had no, I honestly had no interest about it. I was just like, I'm just watching it just to watch it, like I don't care. But after watching the episode, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Vince, Adrian Adonis, he was a tough guy. He came from the streets. He was a brunette. He was working with Jesse the Body Ventura. He was his tag mate, and he was good in the ring. Bret the Hitman Hart. There was a few people that was talking in this episode. Bret the Hitman Hart, the Soulman Rocky Johnson's brother, different people. And obviously when Adrian came to, the WWF, he was doing well there, and Vince decided that, he needed a character change, right? So immediately when I saw this, when I saw the makeup and I saw the pink and the blonde hair, I immediately thought Gorgeous George, because it's like, I was like, okay, yeah, they're trying to reinvent him into this like Gorgeous George character, and like, play a play on sexuality and that sort of thing. So, and the fans hated him. Like they were like, oh, what bathroom does he go into? And oh, like this homosexual, like they were going in, because at that time being gay wasn't really accepted and that sort of thing. So he was a heel, and he played a good heel. He definitely got over with the fans. The problem with Adrian was that sometimes he was tooting his horn way too much, and he was flattering himself way too much. He will work stiff a lot of the times in the ring. He'll when he will be wrestling people, and they admitted it in the episode that he would like sometimes kick them too hard, or like punch them too hard, or like he would just do certain things where he would be purposely trying to hurt his opponent, and you're not supposed to do that in wrestling. You gotta maneuver, you gotta perform. So I forgot the wrestler's name. I apologize, but one time he got into the ring with Adrian, and Adrian was just poking, like when you just poke the bear and then the bear ends up biting. That's what happened. Adrian found out that fat meat was greasy, so that wrestler did not take it too lightly that he was kicking him purposely and being stiff with him. So he got his lick back. He got his lick back, and he ended up punching Adrian Adonis in the face and everything. And the referee was like, "Oh my God, like that's not the finish." And then the wrestler was like, "Well, it is now." He was like, "Well, it is now." So then they ended up taking it backstage, and then Adrian tried to, he tried to be sneaky and try to be nice, and then Adrian ended up trying to, tackle him, and then the wrestler ended up beating the hell out of Adrian, and it ended up humiliating him. Because the thing is, especially during those days, if you lose a fight in the locker room, people are gonna look at you a kind of way. They're gonna lose a little bit of respect for you. And that's what happened with Adrian. And Adrian was humiliated, because it's like, for him to come from the background that he came from, like, with the street fighting and the gangs and that sort of thing. It's like, dang, you got your ass whipped, child. So they looked at him sideways, and he was very, very just like embarrassed by the whole thing. And he really wasn't the same after that. I do want to add that I think he was the one, Adrian Adonis and Jim Jim Neidhart are the ones that introduced Bret the Hitman Hart to cocaine. Adrian was a cokehead. It's very prevalent in the episode that they discuss it. They introduced Bret to cocaine. They would be snorting it and smoking, whatever, doing all that stuff. But the thing is that Bret Hart ended up getting out of that, whereas, Adrian was just hooked on the coke. And, during that time, cocaine was very, very prevalent in the wrestling industry, very prevalent. So it was a thing where it's like he had horrible addiction problems, and on top of that, he was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So the weight started catching up. So it was like you're doing the drugs, you're eating, you're falling asleep, and it's just adding to your body. And there's this one scene where he looked like a whole bloated Oompa Loompa. Like he looked crazy. But yeah, it's like I think when that situation happened, and one of Adrian's friends was like telling him, it was like, listen, like bro, like what happened to you? Like why are you like this now? Like you gained so much weight. You're on this coke, these drugs. Like you need to, something needs to change. And at the end of the day, he was married. He was a father of two girls, and his wife and his daughter spoke on the episode. So he was just like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Y'all are right. Let me go get my life together. Let me get my shit together. He ended up working out. He lost 100 pounds. It seemed like his life started to get back on track until, unfortunately, the car accident happened. Now, before I even get to the car accident, I do want to discuss this man here. What is his name? Dave, whatever they call him in the episode, McKelly or Dave the Bear Man. First of all, they discussed him briefly in this episode as well, because unfortunately he was one of the guys that passed away with Adrian Adonis in the car wreck. When they were saying in the episode, first of all, he had this bear, this quote unquote trained, even though you can't train a wild ant, like, oh, so this trained bear that he had it with him. Wrestling matches. He would use the bear for wrestling matches and that sort of thing. And apparently, this bear, apparently killed Dave's girlfriend, because like she was in the shower and the heat, and I guess that the bear is sensitive to heat. So the bear ended up wilding out as a wild animal would do, and ended up mauling the girlfriend to death. So I'm just like, at that time, I'm looking at this story when they're explaining the story on the episode. I'm just like, okay, so why didn't, first of all, this bear should have been put down when he mauled that woman. Second of all, why didn't McKelly go to jail for involuntary, whatever, like involuntary murder or involuntary manslaughter? Because yeah, even though it was unintentional, one, why do you have a wild animal in your possession? Two, why wasn't the wild animal secured? Why was it out and about just chilling? And like, what I don't like is like, and this goes for any animals, wild animals, domestically, whatever, domestic animals, whatever. Put a leash on that thing, let it be secured, put it somewhere. If y'all gonna have those things, secure it. You should have a bear to begin with. Okay, I understand that's your gimmick and that's what you do, but it's like, I'm sorry. Sometimes these politicians and stuff, they need to be implementing laws where it's like these regular citizens can't have access to these kind of animals, because this is crazy. This is crazy. In a way, it's kind of giving me like Tiger King tease. Like it's kind of giving me like, that's what I was thinking when I heard this story. I was like, wait, what? I was like, if you don't, but first of all, they should have put this bear all the way down, guns blazing when the thing mauled the woman. Should have been put down. Homeboy should have went to jail for negligence. Point blank period. But unfortunately, he was out. He was out. He gets into the car with Adrian and two of the twins, and then they go into the road, and they gave the story that the sunlight blinded the driver, and then he swerved, and then he ended up flipping the car into the river, and then he ended up passing away. Three people passed away. Only one of the twins survived, and Adrian was one of them that passed. It was unfortunate. It was unfortunate because it does seem like he was getting his life together, but God's timing and everything. So he passed away really early too. Like he passed away in the late 80s. So he really didn't, like, I mean, he got to his peak, but he wasn't able to go through his full potential when it comes to the wrestling industry. So it was unfortunate that he passed away the way that he did. But I don't know. I don't think, maybe not, he'll be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. Because this was also a WWF guy, especially with the gimmick and stuff. So, we'll see. But knowing the WWE and how they handle their Hall of Fames, I doubt it. But also, this is my review of the two episodes. But the next episode is gonna be on Abdullah the Butcher. I've heard of him. in passing a lot. I heard about the hepatitis stuff and all that stuff, and that process on the preview. I'll see if I don't know if I might do a solo episode, or I might, do combine it with something else, another topic that I might talk about. But we'll see. So I'm definitely gonna tune into that episode as well. But please like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get up to 500 subscribers, y'all. Let's get up to 500 subscribers. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below about the episode. How did you guys feel about the Junkyard Daughter episode? How did you guys feel about the Adriana Daughters episode? And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.